And NASA's Solar Dynamics Observatory, launched last year, is sending back never-before-seen activity of our sun. That's it right there. Scientists are seeing the first high-resolution measurements ever taken of solar flares. And researchers have discovered that solar storms are caused by giant magnetic ropes. They believe this new information will have a major impact on science and future astrophysics.
You're watching News 4 at 4.
A solar flare sparked an eruption on the sun yesterday. NASA releasing video of it. The images were recorded by an orbiting satellite. The solar flare is a large energy release that results in a sudden brightening over the sun, as you can see there. The flare is not expected to impact the Earth, although it certainly feels like it.
Yeah, that's what we're going to feel like tomorrow.
We're going to blame the solar flare for our weather.
I think we could. Why not?
That's impressive.
Yeah, it's
very.
Beautiful pictures, right? But a concern on Earth. This is a dazzling solar flare. It sent plasma particles heading through space. They're being carried by solar winds at speeds topping 3 million miles an hour. Some of them are going to rain down on Earth, and experts say they might even cause problems with satellites or power grids. I want to bring in our own Chad Myers to explain what it is. What are we looking at? What are we seeing when we see something so beautiful and dramatic as that?
Let's just keep on this video because you'll see the explosion. The explosion literally came out. It's called a coronal mass ejection. Get used to that term, because it's going to be used very often in the next 3 to 5 years. We are now going into a solar cycle that's at its peak, the peak of these sunspot cycle, this peak of these coronal mass ejections. The pictures you see there and the splashdown of this plasma, this just unbelievably hot stuff coming out of the sun and then splashing back down, those splashes you see are the size of Earth.
Wow.
I mean, it's hard to imagine the size of the sun and the size of the Earth. Let's go to this next graphic, and we'll show you where we were and where we're headed. Back in the late 90s, around 2000, we were in a solar peak. That solar peak means we had 3 of these per day, and we were getting static electricity and static charges all over the place. But now, we have more satellites up there. We have more power grid issues. We are running things almost full throttle. So near the peak, you get about 1 of these things a week. During the peak, during the minimum, you get 1. During the peak, you might get 2 or 3 a day. And so these things are headed to the Earth, and they could cause these solar storms. What we know them as, the video or visually, you'll see the aurora borealis, right? You'll see a beautiful colors in the northern hemisphere, in the southern hemisphere. Because they're interacting with the ionosphere. But the dangerous part is when these plasma particles, this energy comes to the Earth and can knock out satellites for a while, can knock them out long enough that they may lose or they may wobble a little bit. We can knock out power grids too. This one probably is not going to do that. This was a big CME, but it was not pointed directly at the Earth. You have to understand the Earth and the sun in three-dimensionality. Half these CMEs we don't see because they're on the other side of the sun and they blast away from the Earth. This one kind of blasted slightly toward the Earth, but we're only going to get about a 20% brushing by of this one.
And there's no possibility that any of that stuff would come to the Earth, like land on the Earth. It's going to mess up the satellites and the... Yeah,
the ionosphere protects us from all that. But I want you to go to a website called spaceweather.com, and you can learn all about this. This is one of my favorite websites of all time. I go on there, we talk to the guys at spaceweather.com. They see these things coming, they'll tell you what it's going to look like, how big it's going to be, and they'll keep you right up to date on what everything NASA is saying.
That is great, because we saw these pictures, and we were all just, our whole team was
I had them on my Twitter account yesterday.
What is going on?
If you go to Chad Myers CNN for your Twitter, I had that on there. I had this video on there. I went, man, this is just unreal. The video is just unbelievable. Yeah. And now it's headed our way. It takes about 48 to 72 hours for this stuff to get here. So even though it happened a couple of days ago, it's good because we know what's coming and they can prepare. And if it's a really big one, the satellite companies can shut their satellites down so they don't get bombarded by all this stuff. They can get them down in time.
So
it isn't like this instantaneous thing that, you know, it's not the speed of light. It's because that's only takes like 6 minutes, so we would be really fast.
And just those flares, it's amazing. The size of Earth.
Stuff. I know.
You gotta love this stuff. All right, Chad, thanks so much. I really appreciate it.
And take a look at what NASA caught. An impressive-looking solar flare in progress yesterday. Scientists called it a medium-sized event and said charged particles released by the flare could have some effect on radio communications here on Earth tonight and tomorrow.
And some spectacular images tonight from NASA of a solar flare that erupted. Scientists do not believe the flare will have a significant impact on Earth, but they say some communication satellites could be disrupted, and the energy released by the event could deliver a glancing blow to the Earth's magnetic field today or tomorrow.
Wow, those are quite some pictures.
Yeah, they are.
I didn't even get those pictures.
Wow.
Pretty cool video here. New revelations from outer space. A NASA satellite captured new images of a solar eruption coming from the sun. NASA is calling this an unusual solar flare. Their cameras caught it at its peak yesterday. A large cloud of charged magnetic particles appeared to be covering almost half the sun's surface. A NASA scientist explained the significance of this event.
One, it was one of the more visually stunning examples of this kind of event. It was just beautiful to look at. The Solar Dynamics Observatory launched a year ago, and so this is one of the first events that of the new solar activity cycle that this whole fleet of spacecraft is going to be able to study. So we're very excited by it.
And in northern areas of Canada and Alaska, people will likely be able to see the aurora, or the bright lights in the sky coming from those magnetic particles. Pretty amazing.
As NASA prepares for its final shuttle launch on Friday, it's also taking its scientific pursuits to new heights. Scientists say for the first time, they're able to actually peer back in time to the creation of the universe. Here with an exclusive sneak peek is NBC's Tom Costello.
Just after dusk in Palmdale, California. On board a modified 747, NASA's newest, most advanced infrared telescope is taking to the skies for an all-night mission of discovery.
NASA 747.
It's called Sophia, Stratospheric Observatory for Infrared Astronomy. Flying near the stratosphere at 41,000 feet, two massive doors on the plane open up. At that altitude, Sophia's telescope is above 99% of the Earth's dust and water vapors. And that should provide crystal clear infrared views like scientists have never had before, of nebulas, planets, stars, and comets formed billions of light years ago, but only visible to the telescope now. It is, say researchers, a glimpse at creation.
We're seeing where stars are forming, and we're seeing it for the first time, details of how it's all happening, how it's all coming together.
Sophia is a joint project between NASA and the German Space Agency. The Germans built the $120 million telescope. NASA provided the plane. The telescope is riding on a cushion of air with 24 of these black air bladders literally absorbing all the vibration from the plane. That allows the telescope to lock on a distant star as if it were locking on a quarter with pinpoint accuracy. While the orbiting Hubble telescope has beamed back spectacular photos of the universe, Sophia is different. Its infrared telescope is looking at the building blocks of our solar system and beyond.
Hydrogen, helium.
The very chemistry of the galaxy.
The very chemistry of the galaxy.
And that's exciting.
It is.
And possibly provide answers about life on Earth.
We don't know whether the Earth's organics were homegrown or came from space or both.
Exploring the universe and rewriting textbooks from 41,000 feet. Tom Costello, NBC News, Palmdale, California.
Now to a close encounter 114 million miles from Earth. That's how far a NASA probe named Dawn traveled to take these pictures of the asteroid Vesta. Vesta is twice the size of California and resides in an asteroid belt between Mars and Jupiter. Scientists hope the asteroid's pockmarked surface will reveal secrets about the solar system's earliest days.
NASA has big plans now to send a new rover to Mars, the mission to answer the old question, is there life there? Here's John Blackstone.
This $2.5 billion car-sized robot, nicknamed Curiosity, designed and built at the Jet Propulsion Lab in Pasadena, California, is NASA's newest unmanned explorer. Officially, it's called the Mars Science Laboratory. The three earlier rovers confirmed that Mars once had enough water to create oceans. Curiosity will search for signs of life. NASA biologist Bob Kukol says all the images from Mars have hinted at the possibilities, but don't provide proof.
We don't expect to see, Bambi walking across the surface of Mars or anything like that. If there's any life on Mars, it is probably microbial.
Kukol has been keeping a close watch on the rover as it's been assembled and tested in a germ-free clean room, protected from outside contamination. The goal is to make sure no Earth creatures hitch a ride on Curiosity.
The last thing we want to have is to wind up on the front page of a newspaper with a giant headline that says, life discovered on Mars, and then 2 days later there's a little story that goes, whoops, it was something we took with us.
Unlike previous Mars rovers that landed wrapped in airbags and bounced to a stop, Curiosity will make a rocket-controlled precision landing. It's a maneuver Control Systems Manager Stephen Lee has rehearsed over and over.
Rotation all the way around now.
But the real thing will be the real test.
How tense is that? From the entry to the landing is known at JPL as the 6 minutes of terror. So we certainly are always on edge, but the 6 minutes themselves are certainly a very tense moment because a lot of us have put many, many years of our careers and lives into this system.
While the Mars Science Laboratory is big and ambitious, the exploration of Mars with rovers started small. This small. This is the actual size of Pathfinder, the first rover sent to Mars in 1997. Pathfinder and the other Mars rovers operated on solar panels. Curiosity is powered by a small nuclear generator. How fast is this going to go?
Well, generally we don't go to try to set any speed records, so we want to be careful along our way. So typically we'll drive 1, maybe 2 football fields a day.
In the 2 years it's scheduled to operate, Curiosity should travel about 13 miles, looking for something humans have been curious about for centuries, the possibility of life on Mars. John Blackstone, CBS News, Pasadena.
How hot is it? We asked John Wade, taking a midday jog.
Hot, like Louisiana.
You trying to get heat stroke?
No, I thought I'd just take on the challenge.
Of course, there are plenty of cooling stations along the mall. We call them museums. Here at Air and Space, today is Mars Day, with special exhibits on our neighboring red planet, the next furthest from the sun.
How cold is it on the Martian surface?
A lot colder than it is here in Washington today. It's probably right near the equator, right where it's in the sun, right underneath the rock, right around the freezing temperature. So it'd be a lot better there than it would be here today.
Tell that to the many pedicabs working through this heat wave.
An intriguing discovery on Mars. Scientists say they have found evidence of possible water flows at several sites on the red planet. Pictures from a NASA spacecraft show slopes that appear to fade in the Martian winter and come back in the spring. Because of the surface of Mars, it is salty. The scientists say the water would also be salty.
Scientists say there is new evidence tonight of water on Mars. Pictures taken by NASA's Mars orbiter reveal lines that may be caused by salty water flowing down the walls of a crater. If so, it could mean the red planet was once able to support life.
NASA scientists say they have found more evidence the planet Mars could sustain life. The most recent findings from a reconnaissance mission identifies features on slopes of the planet that appear to fade in the winter and then come back in the spring. Interesting sign, huh, Tom? Scientists say these flows occurred near the Mars equator, where temperatures would be suitable for liquid water.
Primordial ooze, anyone?
Ooze.
Maybe.
Ooze.
Maybe.
We'll have to see what happens with that, for sure.
Well, last night here, we told you about that intriguing new space research that the Earth might once have had 2 moons. Tonight, we venture further into the solar system with fascinating new findings from Mars. The search for possible life on the red planet has just taken a big leap forward. ABC's Neil Karlinski tonight.
For a lot of people, until there's a bona fide alien walking around on camera, you know, like the kind in the movie Aliens, they won't believe there could be life on Mars. But listen to this. Scientists believe there's a real chance of something alive out there after discovering these dark areas, what they believe to be flowing water on Mars. Not ice or microscopic drops, actual water you could fill a cup with.
We have found repeated
and predictable evidence suggesting water flowing on Mars.
Since 2006, the NASA Mars Reconnaissance Orbiter has been taking a really close look at the red planet. Just look how close they zoomed in. And after photographing the same area year after year, they noticed these shady areas showing up in summer and vanishing in winter. Scientists say this could be a very big deal.
Makes you wonder what else there is to discover on Mars that we haven't noticed yet.
There's no way to be 100% sure it's water yet, but if they're right, don't expect Martians, but microscopic life might just be there. Neil Karlinski, ABC News.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Ignition and liftoff of the Atlas V.
There we go, Atlas V. You heard him say NASA's spacecraft Juno, Atlas V carrying Juno, lifting off today, heading for the 5th and largest planet from the sun, Jupiter. The journey is expected to reach its destination in 5 years and make 33 orbits of Jupiter during the mission. The Juno satellite will get a bird's eye view of the planet and is expected to pass over the north and south poles for a close-up look of the bright Aurealis. Scientists believe the planet holds secrets to the earliest days of our solar system. The last close encounter with Jupiter was 16 years ago from Galileo's spacecraft.
The space shuttle program may be over, but NASA is still sending rockets into the final frontier. The unmanned Juno spacecraft blasted off from Cape Canaveral Air Force Station today on its way to Jupiter. It will be a long trip, 400 million miles, and Juno is expected to settle into Jupiter's orbit in July 2016 on a mission to study the huge planet's structure, magnetic field, and atmosphere.
NASA launched a robotic explorer to Jupiter today. It'll take the spacecraft Juno 5 years to journey to Jupiter, the largest planet in our solar system. It lifted off from Cape Canaveral in Florida this afternoon and will be powered by 3 huge solar panels. Scientists hope to study how Jupiter was made. It's believed to be the oldest planet in the solar system.
Finally tonight, a dance partner for planet Earth. It's called a Trojan asteroid, one that shares a planet's orbit circling around the sun. Many such asteroids have been found near other planets. Now, as reported in the journal Nature, the first has been discovered near the Earth. We get an explanation from Mike Brown, a planetary astronomer at the California Institute of Technology. So tell us a bit more about a Trojan asteroid. In this case, it's held in the gravitational pull between the Earth and the sun?
That's right. It's not between the Earth and the Sun. It's actually in the same orbit as the Earth. So it goes around the Sun in 1 year, just like the Earth goes around the Sun in 1 year. And on average, it's about the same distance from the Sun as the Earth is. So we're really just following it along in its orbit around the Sun.
Now, if it's relatively close, and how close is it exactly? Why is it taken so long to see?
It's close, and it's so close that on average we overtake its position about every 2 months. So in 2 months from now, we're going to be where it is right now. The reason it takes so long to see, the reason it's been so long to find one of these things is because most of the time when we're looking for asteroids or anything else in the solar system, we look out beyond the Earth. We look into the night sky to find these things that are actually in the same orbit of the Earth. You really have to look in the very early morning or the very, very early evening as the sky is really quite bright. So no one has found these things up until now.
And do we know where it came from, how it got there?
That's actually the really interesting question. It's only been watched for a little bit of time right now, and it's on this very intricate dance in front of the Earth. And so figuring out how long it's been there or exactly where it's going to go is a difficult thing. What we know right now is it has been in its approximate position for at least 10,000 years. 10,000 years, though, is a really, really short amount of time for the solar system. So we don't know if it's been there forever, 4.5 billion years since the solar system formed, or if it's really just essentially fell into place yesterday.
You know, you referred to it as a dance. We had a graphic up, and maybe we'll run it again, this animation. It's not really running alongside the Earth. It's constantly moving as well.
Yeah, it's on average, it stays 60 degrees in front of the Earth as it goes, but it doesn't really stay in that spot. It goes ahead and then comes back behind and then keeps circling around. And so it's in this position where it's a stable orbit where it can stay in that place for a long time, but because of the Earth and because of the Sun, it keeps on moving it around.
Now, what is the importance of asteroids, of finding and studying them? What do they tell us? There's even been talk about, of course, a NASA mission where we could go get to one, right?
Right. So there are two ways to think of asteroids, at least the way I think of them, is that they're sort of technologically interesting and sort of sociologically interesting in that they might be the next place that we go to in manned space flight. They're sort of a natural stepping stone to go to the next even further destinations like Mars, perhaps. They're also something that we care a lot about because they are continuously pummeling into the Earth's atmosphere, and there is always that chance that one of them might have our name on it and be coming in our way. So the more we know about them, the better we are prepared to deal with that possibility. For me, though, I think they're interesting much more because of their scientific interest. They really are these windows into the very earliest solar system. They're materials that are left over from when the sun and the Earth and the planets formed, and they've been sitting around in space for that past 4.5 billion years. And if we can find them and study them and figure out where they are and where they've come from, we've learned an awful lot about our very own origins.
And just briefly, just since you raised it, we better reassure people because of that fear of asteroids coming to Earth. This one is sort of stuck in place, right? So that's not likely?
Yeah, this one is actually a really good one to have found because even though it has the same orbit as us, it can never come any closer to us than a certain distance because it's stuck by the Earth. Never, okay, maybe in 20,000 years, we don't know what's going to happen then, but for the foreseeable future, it's going to be staying there. We're going to be watching it. It's going to be a really fun dance to watch.
Okay, reassuring in most of our time frames. Mike Brown, thank you very much.
It's my pleasure.
Okay, we're a little excited about this story. It's not often that we get to see nature get involved in matters of punctuation or convey any type of emotion, but look at this. This is so cool. We have got this stunning image of two galaxies colliding in space, forming. What does it look like, Chad Myers?
An exclamation
point. The collision was picked up by NASA's Chandra Observatory and the Hubble telescope, and it shows two galaxies. You have VV 340 north on top there, and VV 340 south is the spiral on the bottom. Chad Myers,
yes.
It's exciting just because you don't often see exclamation marks, you know, in space,
yeah.
right? And it's this two galaxies colliding. What exactly does that mean?
They are 450 million light years away.
From each other?
No, from us.
From us.
And they are coming together, and they will mesh. They may combine some gases. They may see some stars, especially the big suns, may combine together, make huge explosions. There may be some black holes in there where things get absorbed and they literally go away. You'll never see them again.
Does this happen often?
It's going to happen to us. But I think you're probably safe. It's going to happen 1 billion years from now with the Andromeda Galaxy. We're going to get together. Milky Way and Andromeda will eventually get together. But this is a cool one. This is actually...
Yeah, let's put that back up on the screen just because I love looking at it. I mean, the fact that it's these two galaxies and that we have the technology to be able to take this photograph and that we could talk about it here on television.
And how long will this take?
What take?
For all these to merge, these two things to merge.
Are you quizzing me? I don't know.
100 million years.
100 million years.
It'll take 100 million years for those two galaxies to actually pass through each other and maybe come out the other side, but more likely probably start to spin, do something completely different. You know what, though?
Huh.
It's 450 million light years away.
So we won't be here talking about it then?
It's already happened. It's already over 350 million years ago.
What? That was so 350 million years ago.
It took 450 million years to get to us. We're finally seeing the collision now.
I got you.
That picture is already 450 million years old.
So that's old news. We shouldn't have been talking about it.
Before the dinosaurs.
Over it. I'm not over it. I think it's amazing.
Lovely. It's a great job.
Chad Myers, thank you so much.
Sure.
A little fun in space.
Yeah.
Finally tonight here, the study from the University of California scientists that had us all doing a double take here about the moon. Will it change the way we read one very famous bedtime story? Here's ABC's Lindsay Davis.
Goodnight Moon has lulled generations of kids to sleep, but the real story behind the moon we see at night is being rewritten as we speak. Many moons ago, more than 4 billion years, the heavens weren't so lonely, and nightfall not so dark. That's if you believe the Earth didn't have just one moon, but two. The tale goes that for tens of millions of years before anyone was here to see it, a baby moon orbited the Earth, following the path of its older sibling. Until one day when it floated into the larger moon's path and then smashed into it. One big slow motion splat. 2 moons, now 1.
Beautiful, just beautiful.
Since the dawn of the space age, scientists have questioned why the moon has 2 distinct lunar landscapes. The side that always faces us has flat lowlands, while the far side has high mountains. But every once in a blue moon, a new theory is born. And this one wouldn't just explain why the moon is the way it is, it would also tell the story of why it's Good Night Moon and not Good Night Moons. Lindsay Davis, ABC News, New York.
Something to think about when you read that bedtime story tonight.